everyone, thanks for joining me on my latest podcast. Today I have with me Phil Quinn, National Account Manager at Bluestone. We're going to take a look at the specialist mortgage market. Thanks for joining me, Phil.
Yeah, great to be here, Anita. Thank you.
The mortgage market has performed better than predictions at the beginning of the year, where these were around 215 billion, whereas now it's around 240 billion. If we look at L&G Mortgage Club, they had their fourth best month in club history in May for lending. At TRM, we've also had our best month for completions through the club since 2022, and we too are up year to date. So a good starting point, Phil. Do you agree there's a lot more optimism in the sector?
Absolutely. Well, optimism being the fundamental word, given where the economy has been over the last couple of years, the rise of interest rates and swap rates, and that fear that it brought to many consumers, I now believe there's a dose of realism in terms of where we are. People have come to accept rates are where they are and where they should be, for that matter. So I do think that we've seen a turn of events. We've seen people turn the page in terms of what they believe their objectives are, whether it's financial security with a remortgage of some sort, or whether it's purchasing a property. We're now in a position where consumers are accepting the reality of the economic environment and are therefore making their plans accordingly to match that.
Yeah, I think with the interest rates as well, Phil, I think, both advisors and clients are accepting the fact, we're never going to see, well, we don't think we're ever going to see the 1%, 2%. It is now the norm rate that they are accepting. And, they're now looking at maybe where they haven't in the past, looking at a purchase because they feel more confident with the market. Are you getting that feeling as well?
I am, yes. Yeah, I would echo those points because, we're at that moment in time now where we've been running with this economic change for coming up to 2 years, and that acceptance and that change, it did take some time. I think we have to reflect and be honest with that, in that the consumer believed things may reverse, the trends may reverse, but we are now at that moment of acceptance. And I believe that people are wanting to just get on with their lives and not stall when it comes to, buying their dream home, trying to get onto the property ladder, upsizing, downsizing, whatever they're looking to do. That period of wait and see what happens, I think, is over, and the market is much more stimulated as a result of that.
Yeah, I think leading on from that, Phil, we're seeing a lot more customers looking for the mortgages that really have some form of adverse credit. And really that's been seen, I think you agree with me, it's been really an obstacle in the past. So what trend are you seeing in this area, Phil?
Yeah, I would agree with that. What we've seen over the last 5 years or so, which is quite startling, if I'm honest, is the rise of adverse credit. And this comes in different shapes and forms. So there are many consumers out there who are struggling financially, but there are a number of consumers who are perhaps not financially astute, and therefore they are causing themselves to have detriment to their own credit file just by lack of understanding or awareness. So it's sort of half and half, really. It's one side of it is a consumer who really is struggling, hence the great success of, the mortgage charter, for example, and how people manage their finances. But then the other side of it is customers who are needing that support, that awareness, that education to actually get themselves in better financial positions. Now, as a result of the rise of adverse credit, people have then found themselves in positions where they need to look beyond the high street. I still think we suffer in this country with a lot of awareness issues when it comes to specialist lending. And there's one stat that I talk about, which I really get quite annoyed about, and that is 40% of consumers with adverse credit believe they can't obtain a mortgage. So that's 40% of customers believe they can't obtain a mortgage if they've had adverse credit. Now, to me, that presents a whole host of opportunity for brokers to market to customers and give them that support that they are very desperately needing. Because the trouble is, the customer isn't picking the phone up because they believe they can't obtain a mortgage. So we've got a great opportunity to help more and more people get onto the property ladder or readdress their finances. But it's not going away. The rise of adverse credit year on year, the figures show us 4,000 CCJs a day being registered every single day. Credit scores are all over the place. And it's fantastic that, a lender like Bluestone is here to help and here to make a difference to those customers.
Do you believe then brokers, well, I think it goes without saying what you're saying, brokers who aren't in this market should be looking to get into the adverse credit market as such? Is that your view?
Without a doubt. And if you look at where we are as an industry, we've got the revolution of technology and the digitalization. What threat could that bring to someone's business if they're perhaps too one-dimensional with their business strategy? The diversification of the customer segments and the customer demographic. Clearly more and more people are facing the consequences of adverse credit. We've got 4 million people self-employed, complex income, complex affordability issues. So from an advisor point of view, I would be embracing what is now a more complex market because customers need that advice more than ever. And if you're an advisor thinking, well, some of my customers are starting to fit into these sectors, then let's engage, let's have that conversation and see how we can add value, because ultimately more customers are fitting into this part of the market. I do believe there is a threat of digitalization when it comes to some of the typical mainstream business, and how will that affect advisors? And furthermore, if you're looking at your own income streams, specialist lending is more rewarding. So not only is it more emotionally rewarding, but financially for you as an advisor as well.
It's a win-win situation for everybody, isn't it? Yourselves, the broker, and us going forward.
Absolutely.
So really, looking at yourselves then, I see Bluestone as a lender who's embracing this part of the market. So if we turn to Bluestone, Phil, for those who aren't familiar with you, can you give us a quick overview of where you actually sit in the market?
Yeah, so Bluestone have been in the market for 9 years, and we were acquired by Shawbrook Bank 12 months ago, roughly 12 months ago, which was a great strategic move on both sides of the fence there. And our position in the market is fundamentally to serve customers with complex credit needs. So that is very much the core proposition, and that could be real simple adverse credit like a poor credit score, or it could be as severe as discharge bankruptcies, and of course everything in between: CCJs, defaults, arrears, etc. So that is our sort of first and foremost position in the market. But we have embraced the changes of the self-employed and complex credit and contractors, so we're doing a lot of that type of business. And there's a couple of schemes we run with as well, one being right to buy. We're successful in that space. And most recently, at the start of this year, we launched into Deposit Unlock, which is a 95% LTV new build scheme. So we are branching out. We are looking to broaden our customer demographic, as well as having a really attractive proposition. We're also very enhanced in our technology evolution. So we want to make our process and transaction as seamless as possible for the advisor. So some of the technology we offer through the origination platform includes built-in Experian links, home track valuations, and in some instances, open banking. And with open banking, where we can automate validation of income, that will then allow us to produce day one offers. And we're really proud that a number of cases we look at fit into that parameter, and therefore we can conduct day one offers, which I think is a big wow factor for me working at a specialist lender representing Bluestone, to say, look, some of our business we can do as a day one offer. I just think is fantastic. Especially given we're a specialist lender, typically, of a smaller size, of course, to the high street. So proposition on one side, enhanced by technology, and on the other side to give a great experience. We're really well positioned to help customers in our customer sector.
Well, just going back on that then, Phil, with sort of like the more specialist lending, a lot of it, sometimes I feel, talking to advisors, they still like this like face-to-face contact with the underwriter, where they can pick the phone up, talk the case through. I'd understand where you're coming in with the technology side, but does a broker still have that facility with yourselves to actually sit down and get on the phone and talk to an underwriter about it?
Of course, yes, that remains at the heart of Bluestone's service proposition. So we are, revolutionizing our origination platform for the better. But what does remain in parallel to that is the ability to contact an underwriter. So if I take a step back, firstly, we're integrated with all of the sourcing systems from both product and criteria. And we also have an A to Z of criteria on our website. So all the criteria is accessible to the advisor. But what we appreciate in Bluestone is that if you are dealing with a more complex case, you may be unfamiliar with how to position that to us as a lender from an underwriting decision. Pick up the phone. You've got the underwriter you can speak to. You've got a team of fantastic BDMs you can speak to. We have a mailbox you can email as well. So we're really hands-on, because we understand that some of the cases we deal with aren't black and white, and you do need a conversation with an underwriter to position the case, and we're very much here to support that.
Just picking up on the business development managers, how many? Firstly, how many of those have you got around the country, Phil? The field ones.
So we have 3 key account managers, North, Midlands, and South, and they typically look after our sort of top tier accounts, those who are using Bluestone regularly. And then we have 5 in the field across the country, followed by another 5 on the telephone as well. So each region, with the exception of Scotland, has both field and telephone, and Scotland and Northern Ireland is telephone.
So if an advisor wants to contact you, go on your website, do they put their postcode in, or how does that work for them?
So it's bluestonemortgages.co.uk, and if you click on find my BDM, you can either type in the first couple of letters of the postcode, or just scroll down to the map and you'll see who your respective BDM is.
Brilliant, that's great. So I suppose from your point of view, the underwriting I think is quite important. I think we've covered that off. So how are you innovating in the specialist market? You've sort of looked at your technology side. Is there anything else that you're doing out there that would help our advisors?
Yeah, so there's a few bits of innovation. Something that we're always looking to work through in order to be as a successful lender as possible, and help as many advisors as possible. So technology would be one of them, which we've certainly talked about. We are looking at additional proposition developments throughout the year. So I mentioned we launched Deposit Unlock at the start of the year, which was a big project for us, and there's a couple of propositional developments that will come in the second half of the year. Outside of the proposition, we then want to ensure our BDMs are accessible a couple of the team are new into the business, so we're really trying to broaden out our reach of advisors. You know, whether it's in the field or whether it's on the phone or virtual, we do want to build more relationships across the country. So, you know, a combination of tech proposition, the BDM team is very much where we see the growth for Bluestone. And I suppose the final point would be, and you'll see this over the coming months, we have carried out quite a lot of consumer research when it comes to the adverse market, and we will be sharing the findings of that, because we still believe there is a lot of education to offer when it comes to understanding this market, and we really want to be a thought leader in that education and share that with brokers and help them understand the opportunity, the value, and most importantly, how to explain that to a customer and support the customer.
Yeah, you're doing a fair bit of work there, Phil.
We like to keep busy.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks for giving me an overview of your Bluestone, Phil. So basically, if they want to contact you, given us all the details. So what we'll do, Phil, we'll include any links that you give us and contact details with the podcast members. Feel free to either call or drop me or Phil an email with any questions you may have. Thanks for your time on that, Phil. Thanks for joining me. And it only leaves me to say, look out for my next podcast.
Thanks for having me, Anita. It's been great to chat with you today, and look forward to working with the members across the network.